Welcome back to Smosh Mouth.
Yeah.
Sure. I'm Shayne Top.
And I'm Amanda Lehan Canto, and we're here with Noah Grossman.
Hi. What, is that a Smash Mouth?
I think we're
I don't
going
know
to
what you're
try
talking
out Smosh Mouth.
We're allowed to do whatever we want.
Yeah, there's no parents.
No one's telling us what to do. I mean, they could tell us what to do, but they're like...
They could shut it down at
Ian
any
and Anthony
time.
are like, you know what, man? Just say whatever.
They never said that.
They pulled us into a meeting room. They were both smoking cigars, and they went, you know what?
You kids.
You kids do whatever you want.
Say whatever. So Smosh Mouth. Love it.
Yeah, sure. Why not?
Let's do it.
You like it?
I love it. I wanted to tell you when we started, but I think you need a mint because you got a little Smosh Mouth right now.
Do I?
Oh.
Yeah, I think you've been talking for all day. I'm totally lying.
Oh,
I'm totally lying.
boy. Dissed.
Damn.
Hard.
No, it's so cool to have you here. I don't know if a lot of people know this. I think people know this, that I've known you longer than anyone else here at Smosh.
Yeah, I didn't know that until you told me the other day. That's crazy.
I've known
12
Noah,
years old?
He was 12 when I met him.
Yeah.
I was 18,
Yeah.
19.
I think, yeah.
I
I think
was
you
a
had just turned 18, something like that.
I
'cause
was a teenager, yeah.
Yeah.
What was Noah like? What, from Shane's eyes, and what was Shayne like
God.
from your
So
eyes?
I still vividly remember, so this was in an improv class that I'd been going to for a couple of years, or about a year or so at that point. And it was a teen class. So I was one of the older people in the class, and Noah had just gotten like bumped up from the kids class to that one, right? Am I correct?
I actually just joined that one. I wasn't in the kids class.
You just joined that theater in general.
I just randomly
Okay.
joined, yeah.
But there was like kids.
Yeah, they did do kids theater.
So-
like original written plays, which is actually one of the coolest things to see.
It was really fun.
Yeah.
But I remember your first time in this class, you're 12 years old. You are at this point very short. You were like the tiniest kid in the class.
What?
That's what's so funny is it was kind of like, it wasn't a joke, but I just remember being like, you were so small for
I think
12.
I might have been 4'7".
Yeah, very, very short.
That's shorter than Shakira.
Is that how you measure things?
That's shorter than Danny DeVito,
Yeah,
I think.
I think Shakira's 4'11".
Do you
Wow.
just keep that in your pocket?
Yep.
That's how you measure, like, when you're like, oh, how long do I need this curtain rod?
This
Yeah.
is
I need
several
two Shakiras.
Shakiras
All
long.
Shakiras.
Wow.
Yep.
Where are they? They lost at sea. There's several Shakiras out.
Yeah.
There are millions of Shakiras
Yeah.
out at Ocean. But I remember the first scene you did. In my memory, your voice was the exact same
That's
at 12.
incredible.
In my memory, it's probably not true. That's just probably how I remember it. You did a sketch where you were asking a girl to prom, or you were showing up to pick up a girl from prom, and there was one line that you said that friggin' killed me, where you were like, yeah, if you get hungry, I have these almonds that I brought. I'm allergic, but I'll work through it. And I remember being like, that is so funny. You were really...
That's so you.
You were
So
a killer.
stupid.
Like, you would say...
You're so sweet.
You said insane shit for a 12-year-old.
He still remembers that.
That's so funny. Thank
Yeah,
you.
that was
I just
so
remember
funny.
anytime we did like a show, like I'm so bad at improv shows because I
were
get
great.
so anxious. I just can't handle it.
I think in your head it's bad, but you would deliver incredible lines.
Aw,
And
thank
it was
you.
funny. At that time, it was really funny because you're 12 years old. You look younger, and you're saying wild, crazy stuff.
What
I
was
appreciate
Shayne
that.
like?
Did Shayne, you know this, so in the improv class, I ended up bringing like 3-4 of my other friends involved in it over the years. But Shayne was like the coolest fucking guy on the planet. Like, I've told him this a million times. He was literally like the coolest fucking guy. Like, I'm 12. This fucking dude who like wears cool leather jackets. He's got like blonde
Leather
hair.
jackets to an improv
I have one.
class.
We can get into we can get into the jackets in a second.
Did you ride a motorcycle, or
But-
was that just for?
Well, I'll
He
explain.
might as well
I'll explain the jackets in a
Okay,
second. But
keep
no,
going.
go
Yeah,
on.
he was just cool. That's just it. He was cool. He looked like he was like off the OC, but not in like a bad way. Not in a way that it was like.
You do look like the guy from the OC.
But it's not like the hair down. It's like the hair up. You get what I mean? So it's
Oh.
cooler. It's actually cooler.
Okay.
He doesn't. You know what? So I was
convincing
12,
me, I
and I
guess.
was easily like, "This is the coolest guy I know. He's hilarious." I just like
Meanwhile, I
watching
was
him
not
perform.
cool.
You're just like
Dude,
your mom's
you-
like.
I was
"Put
cool.
on this
I think
leather
I was
jacket."
cool in that improv class because that was a place where I would go to just have fun, and because during the week I'm trying to be an actor, not doing so hot most of the time. And then I'd go to this improv class with a bunch of teens, a lot of whom weren't actors. They were just there to just have fun, and I would just go there and have a blast. And so in that place, I was in my element, which is maybe that explains it. But the jackets.
Explain the jacket, though.
So, look, not to get too real, I was very insecure about my body for a long time, so I would wear jackets year-round, even in the heat.
Whoa!
I remember I had a different jacket like all the time. Originally, I had this. It was so 2008. It looked like a blazer, but it was made out of a very stretchy material, so it was very tight. And I would wear this like blazer thing with the sleeves rolled up.
You
like
must
a black...
have been so hot all the time.
That wasn't so bad. But then I moved on to a like Robert Pattinson type of like black, like almost military type like cotton coat that I would wear. It had a bunch of pockets on it, and I would wear that year round.
Oh, no.
And then I moved on to a green leather jacket that had a fake, like it had a hood attached to the inside of it. And that one I wore for a really long time. I still own that one. I'll wear it. Maybe I'll wear it in one of the next.
Please wear it.
That'd be great.
I'll wear it in a couple weeks.
That was like your safety blanket.
Yeah, I can wear it on one of these episodes. But so I would wear that.
It's just the tightest thing ever.
I would wear it year round, and even in the heat, even whatever, because I was just so like, I don't want to like. I
remember learning that jacket was fake. Because I got one similar to it, like 2 years later. Like 2 years later, a jacket like that one on. That red one was later when I joined Smosh, but before that, it was it was like a Levi's, like brown leather, but inside it had like this gray part, so it looked like you were wearing two things. Yeah, that's when I learned.
Did you do it because of Shayne?
You know, I think to be fully honest, in every male actor's life, they need some sort of leather jacket to fit a role.
Same with a female. Like, they want the photos of the girl with a leather jacket and a black tank top looking like she has a gun or she just got off
like
a motorcycle.
you're in Castle or something.
Yeah,
right?
It's like, all right, we need like a Law and Order pick. I'm like, what?
That makes sense.
So, yeah.
I also think it was very 2000. This is like 2010 to 2013. The like fake inner lining things were very common.
Yeah.
Or the sweatshirt jacket mix.
Yeah, the fashion was just nuts. You also had a period of time, probably a little bit before that, where you had the fake t-shirt, short sleeve shirt over long sleeve shirt.
Oh, that's coming back.
I loved that look.
I can't believe that's coming back. I don't think I'm a fan of it.
I loved that look.
I did it a lot. I gotta admit.
That was my favorite.
But I don't want it to come back.
Dude, it's the Frankie Muniz. That's what that is. That's the Malcolm in the Middle right there.
It's just everyone back then.
God.
That was the thing. So I wanted to talk about, because Noah, I feel like at Smosh, you, over the years, have been stereotyped, I think unfairly, a little bit. I don't know, somewhere along the way.
a little.
Somewhere along the way, we put you into this box of like, you're the stoner conspiracy guy. And that's like the only joke that's often said.
Yeah, you played Shaggy in Scooby-Doo.
Yeah,
you
like
really nailed that coffin.
We're always going to do that. And what's funny is I don't think it's that accurate. Like, I think...
No.
I don't think that's the role that I see you playing behind the scenes here.
To be fully honest, it is my fault, okay? Because I am a bit of a stoner, and I do like conspiracy theories, okay?
So he is exactly that.
Yeah. And unfortunately, I think the root of it is I used to spend a lot of the time just talking with the head writer and just hanging out with everyone. And, like, the only things that I would talk about is, like, the random shit that I would read online the night before. And, like, it's, like, 2015, 2016. And, like, nobody in mainstream, I'm saying, like, nobody in mainstream, but, like, the whole QAnon shit going on, I was here being like, guys, I need to tell you about this weird ass shit that's happening, and no one understands it. So I'm like trying to explain it to them, and I think that's the root of it. And then once that stuff became mainstream, I think then they connected it all, and we're like, oh, so, and it's like, no, I'm here telling you, like, this is what crazy people are doing.
Right.
It's
once they
moved
hook
from
on,
entertainment
once
to,
they hook on to something, I mean, they still think I'm like a mom with 5 children that don't know how to play a board game. So
wow,
that's my biggest thing. It's
when
like,
did you have the 5th?
Good luck.
Sorry.
Good luck, Amanda, figuring out how to play this board game. And mom. And I'm like, I probably did that to myself.
It's kind of... It's also similar to people thinking that I'm the loudest person. When in most social settings, I'm not very loud.
No.
I'm actually very quiet. I am very shy.
Well, it's our characters that
But it is, and it is part of us. Like, we're not denying that these are aspects of us, but they're not the whole thing.
No. So we want to highlight this.
Let's talk about the small sliver.
We want to highlight the stoner conspiracy theorist in you.
So I did actually, something I've wanted to do since we started this podcast again is talking about the dumbest conspiracy theories we've ever seen. So we can get into that in a little bit. But I first wanted to say, like, Noah, I feel like who I see you as here, I think you're like one of the nicest people. Oh, and I think your overarching trait that I see is you're someone who will become friends with anyone.
Yeah.
And a really funny thing that I've noticed over the years, and it's specific to you and Keith, is whenever we have to go work somewhere, like we work at a convention or something, and we're working over a weekend, I'll meet up with you guys, and you guys always have a new friend.
Yeah.
You guys will always be like hanging out. You'll be hanging out with like some 6'9" Norwegian man, and you'll be like, oh yeah, this is Disco, and he'll be like, what's up, man? And I'm like, hey, how's it going?
He came here on a ship.
We met Disco 5 hours ago, and he's our best friend now.
You don't even.
Okay,
no, it's great.
But yeah, VidCon this year was super fun. We met this super cool guy, Jordan. Last name starts with a P, but he's a musician. I don't remember his last name, but he was a cool guy that we met. But yeah, Keith and I just like to meet random people sometimes in passing.
I just feel like any person you meet, you're down to be their friend.
Yeah. I definitely like to be cordial.
Maybe not their friend, but like you're very curious about like what's going on with them. You want to know like how they tick. Or
I don't mind sharing space with people, if that makes sense.
It does.
Yeah. If I want to talk to someone, I'd love to like get to know you more. But honestly, I don't.
I feel very similar to that. My mom called me a New Yorker the other day. She was like, God, you've become such a New Yorker. Because when I go out in public, sometimes I don't want to actually talk to people. Yeah. I think because I don't have enough introverted time that sometimes I'm like, I just want to get this coffee and go. But like, I used to be way more like, hey, talking to strangers. And my mom was like, you're such a New Yorker. So maybe I need to like embrace the...
I don't know.
I feel like, Noah, you would never turn down a conversation. If you were walking down the street and someone was just like, hey, can I talk to you real quick? You'd be like, yeah, man, sure.
See?
To my detriment. Almost every time. Now I have to stop. I've been hustled for cigarettes that way. Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
What?
I've been hustled for cigarettes in Hollywood. This was when Rogue One was coming out, so I was standing, watching them build the Millennium Falcon in Hollywood, just enjoying my time. I dropped off two of my friends, one of our friends, Kefra. I dropped him off and another friend. They were going to a gay club, and I was like going to join them just to like have fun, but we had fake IDs from the same state and the same address, so it wasn't going to work out. So only one of us, and I was like, oh, obviously, let the two gay guys go to the gay club. Like, I'll just walk around Hollywood. And so while they're having fun, I'm just walking around. Oh, look, the Millennium Falcon. So I'm like leaning over, like, oh, this is so cool watching them build it. And all of a sudden, someone's just like, hey, yeah, you. Hey, you. My dumb ass turns around.
No,
Who turns around, right? But
I would just walk away.
I had to learn that. Like, that's literally, Keith has told me multiple times, like, he leaves me
I love Keith.
places because I turn around. Like, he has tried to instill it in me.
I can totally picture Keith being upset about it.
Oh,
being
he'll
like,
just walk.
Let's
He'll just
go.
walk.
Because Keith is very good at being like, I'm not doing
He's like,
this.
no.
No.
So how did he hustle you for cigarettes?
Well, because I turned around and there's like a 6'8", like homeless guy. You know,
6'8".
like he is huge. Like, and maybe he's standing on the curb and I'm off the curb. All I know is like I'm looking up and like the street lights blacked out. Like it's like I can't even make out his face. And I'm like behind me is the railing and the Millennium Falcon. And he's like, you look like the guy who's gonna buy me cigarettes. Straight up.
He didn't really hustle you. He just straight up came out with the question.
Okay, well, what am I gonna say?
I'm not that guy.
No.
What?
No, I'm gonna
you
say,
looked at him
you
and
know what?
You went, how'd you know?
I literally said, yes, I am. And I walked in, because the liquor store's right there, too. I didn't realize. He's, like, outside the liquor store. Like, it's a 5 feet transaction.
Yes,
like,
I
it is
am.
right there. I told him, yes, I am. And I walked my ass in there. I bought him the cigarettes, and he did try to get, like, a soda or some extra shit. And I looked at him and I said, I'm buying the cigarettes. And that was it. And then I just continued walking down Hollywood. Because that's what it is. Like, I lost the game.
Did he say thank you?
If he did, it was silent. It was quiet. He like mumbled it. You know, he didn't want anyone to know that he was thankful.
So
That is so
now I
funny.
know that all I have to do is go up to you and ask for things, and you go, "Yes, I will."
I think you would. I
Honestly,
think you actually
honestly.
would do just about anything.
Why
anyone
do you
asks.
think that? Why do you think that you would just like immediately go for it? Because you're like, yes, this is what human beings do.
No, that one is just the easiest way out of a situation. Damien explained something similar that happened to me because he was laughing about something, mentioning like, oh, that sometimes because of like some of his diagnoses that he can't always tell when like as a kid he was being bullied or like can't tell in certain social situations. And I was like, oh, like just relating a little bit, just being like, oh yeah, I don't necessarily know if I've ever been bullied, but I've definitely been in situations where like obviously a transaction took place. And he was like, what does that mean? And I was like,
this time I was robbed.
Well, essentially, but like, so there was when I was in 6th grade, again, very, very tiny, there was a kid who was in 8th grade, and he might have even been held back. And, like, I'm going to be honest, this is really how I viewed this kid. I was like, oh, his name's, like, Luna. He's a little off. Like, he wears glasses that are, like, a little wonky. Like, he wears, like, the same pair of, like, cargo capris every day, and he likes to be really loud and try to, like, bully kids and, like, push them and try to make, like, really crude jokes. And it's like, okay, you're an 8th grader. Why are you in the PE period with the other 6th graders? You're, like, a lot older than everyone. Got a lot of facial hair, and like you smell like a man.
He was
like,
45 years old.
It looked like essentially, but he would come down the rows and he would just be like talking to people and stuff. And then at a certain point, I think one day I had like a Pop-Tart with me, and he was like, "Can I have some Pop-Tart? Like I'm hungry." So I was like, "Oh, okay."
Yes, I am.
Yeah, yes, I am.
Yes, I am.
And then after that, he started asking me for $1. And like back in middle school, I used to sell pieces of my lunches because I didn't always eat it all. So like I'd sell my sandwich, or then I'd sell the grapes.
Wow.
Your body needed that food.
We'll talk about that later. But I had just like ones like on any day of the week, I probably had anywhere from like $12 to like $24 in ones in my wallet from just selling my lunches.
Holy shit.
You're a hustler.
Well, I would give him $1 like every day, every other day. And I really like, and I know this is why Damon was like, I think you were being bullied. And I'm like, maybe, but the way that I process me being bullied is like I really was giving this person 2 levels of charity. And I know this is so fucked up because I don't know their life. But one, I was letting them get away with just like being like a mean, stinky bully so that like they didn't have to look like a bitch in front of everyone. And also like I was letting them eat. And I know that's so like messed up, but that's really how I viewed it. And like when Damien broke it down to me that he was like, I think you were like bullied. And I was like, oh, I think like from their perspective, I think they thought that they were like fully bullying me.
But you were bullying them.
But from my perspective, I was like giving them the grace of like the stage they needed to feel better today. Like I know that's so but maybe that's how I'd like process being bullied. I don't know.
kind of love that.
They meet you later on in life and they're like, you were patronizing me the entire time, weren't you? Holy crap. I thought I was bullying you. You were bullying me in a weird way.
Yeah, in a really weird way. I still lost the money every day. So like it was a transaction.
Every day? That's a lot of money.
Every other day, something like that. Yeah, probably like $3 a week. $3 to $5 a week.
That's a lot of money when you're in middle school.
Yeah. That would give him 2 Pop-Tarts a day if you think about it. That's how I thought about it.
I can relate.
That's so cheap.
I can relate because in 7th grade, I don't think I was ever bullied and once again, in my mind. I think if I was, I didn't recognize it.
Right.
Because I think I'm someone that if someone like roasted me or said a joke about me, I wouldn't think of like, I'm being bullied.
Laugh along,
I just gotta be like, yeah.
Funny.
Because there was one time that I look back on and I go, oh, I was absolutely being bullied. And they were upset that I didn't take it as bullying. Everyone was lined up to go into PE, the 7th and the 8th graders. And there was this like group of like the 8th grade bros they weren't like bullies. We didn't, as far as I know, we didn't have an extreme bullying issue at this school, but these were the dudes who would probably do it the most. Yeah. Mm-hmm. They're the ones wearing all the like dirt biking gear all day.
They're wearing all that
Fox. Those are the guys I dated.
Yeah, they're wearing the Fox. They're wearing the Fox hats.
Love.
Yep, that
long jean shorts with big black sneakers.
Yep.
Fuck yeah.
That was the cool crowd in Arizona, and but there was one time where I forget, like, I was saying something or something happened where they started doing this, like, kind of like rap rhyme thing, making fun of me. And it was like something like drives an Impala, sucks on, like, whatever. You know where it's getting at, kind of.
Sucks on a
it wasn't that, but it was something. But like they're going through their
mama titty.
they're doing this like rap rhyme at me, and I'm laughing my ass off because I think it's really funny. And then at a certain point, they stop, And they go, why are you laughing? And I'm like, it's really funny. And I think everyone else started laughing then too, because they're like, wait, that's ridiculous. And it's, look, I don't know if they've seen Smosh, where I'm like, I get roasted for a living now.
Yeah.
And I've embraced it, and it's hilarious. But that was my first experience of really like, okay, that was deliberate. They were trying to embarrass me in front of everyone.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But I don't care.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
That's funny.
I don't think I can't tell if I've gotten bullied or not. I definitely was like very curvy, like developed in like sixth grade.
You were 6 feet tall in fourth grade.
I was more like followed around and like, bullied in that sense.
I remember in one of the Reddit stories that we did, I think was it you and Spencer? Spencer acknowledged once that like preteen and teenage girls towards each other can be devastating. The way they bully each other can be awful. I feel like dudes are awful, but it's a much more like, frankly, dangerous. Like, it's like, what are they going to physically do to me?
Weirdly, I didn't feel like women can be so nasty, but I didn't feel like the women were nasty to me. I thought it was the boys. They were they would just make fun of me, but then they would follow me around, and then they would have competitions to like see who could like get me first. Yeah. There was like I was dating the dirt biker guy who I was like so into, and then I was kind of seeing someone else while we were like broken up, and there was a fight in the hallway. Whoa. It was like kind of more like a dude thing, but the ladies, maybe I was just not aware. I don't know though. Women can be kind of nasty at that age.
I think everyone, when they're a teenager, has the potential to be super awful.
Yeah. So I think but I remember I had sisters. Like, I had at least a sister in one school with me. Mm-hmm. So my sister was like, don't fuck with my younger sister.
That helps.
Like, my sisters went to war for me. So it was like...
That's super helpful.
I felt like I was always guarded, but like, you never date someone in your sister's grade. That is an unwritten rule. And like, if there were any guys in my sister's grade who wanted to date me, she was like, do not fucking touch my sister. And I was the same. If they were like, oh my God, your older sister. And I was like, okay, well, she's not available to you guys.
Yeah, do not.
So I had like protection. I had like a barricade.
Was that the same for you, Noah?
Yeah, with my older brothers, yeah. When I was a freshman in high school, my brother was a senior, and when because I've got 2 older brothers, and so when that middle brother was in 8th grade, my oldest brother was a senior. So
that's super helpful.
Yeah, so because I remember my middle brother was bullied a little bit in middle school and high school, and they didn't know that my oldest brother is like really skinny. But just the thought of a senior coming and beat them up was enough.
And it's also, but it's also the network of like,
because if he's not going to beat him up, he knows someone that will.
He might have friends who are seniors
and there's
who
some
don't
idiot
care.
who's a senior who will take $20.
And I feel like seniors are just bored.
Yeah.
At that point, and they're just down for that.
Yeah, they're ready to just like go.
See, I didn't go to high school, so I was in the actor crowd, which there was bullying. There absolutely was, but it was a very different thing. And I've talked about this before, but what's devastating about being a child actor or being a teenage actor is the cool kids have a legitimacy that sucks. It's like, that guy, he's on Zoe 101. Mm-hmm. He's a regular. He's famous and he's rich in our minds. I don't think they were as rich as we ever think they are. But it was like, of course he's cool. He's got a career. And I'm trying to be an actor. All of us are like, well, he made it, and we suck, and we're losers. And as opposed to in high school, it's like, what determines you're on the
having
football?
A car. It's like, oh my God, that bro has a car, and he has tinted windows, and he's got a fucking sound system.
And there's a sub in the trunk.
It was like, are his parents out of town this weekend? Fuck yeah. Does he have a tinted window car? Like, I remember my friend Matt would pick me up, and you could hear him a mile away.
Oh, did he have like a modified
He had like
muffler?
a sound system in his fucking big-ass car with tinted windows. My mom was like, Matt's on his way. I was like, yep. And you'd go in, and you couldn't hear a word that he was saying. And I mean, it was just so fucking loud. But like, that equated to cool, and he had a house where his parents would go out all the time. Nice. That's mattered to us because normally...
That makes sense. That makes sense.
Yeah, that's...
Dang.
Yeah.
So
anyways, we got a background of our point of views of life and our background.
So that's who we are. But now here's
who
what
you
we
really
believe.
are.
Now who you really are. But it boils down to that you're a stoner conspiracy theorist. So Amanda and I were talking this past week, and we were like, we have been talking about wanting to do conspiracy theory stuff on here and talking about it, but also talking about the dumbest shit we've been seeing. I think maybe that's very specific to me. When I'm surfing Twitter and Reddit and TikTok, I get served a lot of conspiracy stuff, but it's so bad nowadays.
Yeah.
And the reason I think it's unfair that you have been pinpointed as the conspiracy guy is because for a long time, and I mean, I would say I'm entertained, but when I was a teenager and in my early 20s, I was deep into conspiracy theories, mostly about like aliens and like supernatural stuff. I never cared as much about government conspiracy theories, or like, the JFK stuff or the Princess Diana.
You ever go into Holy War?
No, I don't. I don't even know what that is.
Well, it's all tied together. All of them are tied together.
But I feel like somewhere around like 2015 and 2016, and you were probably calling it with like it's the rise of QAnon and everything. Conspiracies got really lame, and they've gotten really, really messed up in a lot of ways, obviously.
And people really, really believe them because I feel like social media just spreads these conspiracy theories like wildfire. And to be honest, it's the same as if you're watching like a true crime documentary. You watch it and you're like, wow, did you know that this happened? It's like, yeah, but did you know who wrote that documentary? It's biased. Like, remember Fyre Festival? I remember there was 2 documentaries about Fyre Festival, and it was like, okay, but which one is written by the people who put on Fyre Festival? Like, so it's like you really have to dig to do your research, but when you're online, you don't do that. You just look and you go, whoa.
But the problem also nowadays with the internet is you try to do your own research, but they're
all conspiracy theories.
Where, like, that's why at this point I'm like, you got to kind of be skeptical of everything.
Yeah.
Because the more you absolutely believe something, that I do think there's a danger to it. That's my own personal belief. I can't tell people how to live. But what's sad is I feel like conspiracy theories are bigger than ever, but in my mind, they're lamer than ever.
Yeah.
Back when I was big into it, like it was not on the mainstream, and I would find these forums and stuff, but it was always about aliens, and I loved alien stuff, and it was like, here's these sightings, and here's what this craft is like, and here's how they're hiding among us, and I'm like, that's cool, because it's just purely like there are aliens out there, and we know that they've visited us. I didn't care too much, but I love cryptid stuff like Bigfoot and Loch Ness and things like that. I love that. I'm like, that monsters.
You love Bigfoot?
But, dude, I'm telling you, growing up, my dad was so into all of this. He still is. But, like, even when we were kids, or like we would go to this island every summer to vacation. And every night he would talk about Bigfoot, but he talked about the Greys. Ever heard of the Greys?
Yes.
No. Tell us about the Greys.
My dad and you should probably sit down and hang
I would
out.
love to just talk with him.
My dad is, and the way he talks about it, because he went to Brown, he's a computer engineer.
He's super educated.
He has like a science. He watches YouTube videos on quantum physics for fun at the beach.
Yeah.
At the beach.
He's in the certain cusp of like research shows. There's like certain points of susceptibility. He is at one specific point, which is the highly educated group.
Highly educated. So, and I love listening to him. Like my dad and I, we have such a fun relationship. But growing up, he talked about the Greys, which are aliens on Earth, who disguise themselves.
I only know what other people say, and everyone says a little extra addition. So
to me, so we would be sitting on the island in like a little house, and we'd sit, and it's all dark, and he'd be like, "Look for the eyes of the Greys." So his idea was like Greys would like walk Earth to like check out what everyone's doing, what's going on, what the new technology is, but they would be like kind of masked as like things that we would recognize.
Why is that lamp walking around?
So
they're not gonna know I'm here.
I would go to bed, and my imagination was already like always going. But I grew up in like a because both my parents met in a psych ward. Wow. They weren't going there; they were there teaching. And that place is now closed down, so kids could go scare themselves on the East Coast.
Fun.
That's cool.
It's called Dever. But so I grew up with all of this like otherworldly stuff, but the Greys I'll never forget because I was always like looking out for Greys. And then on top of it, we had an au pair. We had au pair. I wouldn't call them au pairs. They were 19-year-olds from Norway who would watch us because my parents would work all the time.
What's an au pair?
Au pair is like a live-in nanny.
Oh, okay.
But they weren't a live-in nanny. They were just 19-year-olds who wanted to be in America, and my mom took them in, and they took care of us.
Mm-hmm.
But they had their own version of the Greys, but they were f***ing trolls. They were like Norwegian trolls. So they always said, like, if you were doing something, you know, kind of bad, if you were walking in the forest, turn around quickly, and you would find trolls, like, hiding behind trees watching you.
Awful.
So I grew up with the old Norwegian trolls, the f***ing Greys. So I'm walking around this earth. Oh, my sister's obsessed with Bigfoot. She's like, they're real. He's real. You got to find him. And I was like, okay.
Is Bigfoot just one, or it's not just one guy?
No, it's like deer.
It's a bunch of deer. There's just a bunch of them.
Yeah.
There are tons of giant primates in America. Is that what she believes?
I think that's what she believes. I think it's also she doesn't fully like live and die by Bigfoot. I think it's like a fun thing, but she's definitely tried to like look for Bigfoot.
Bigfoot's a very fun conspiracy. I would say Bigfoot's probably my favorite conspiracy because it has no ramifications upon society whatsoever.
He's just chilling.
Other than all you're saying is there are gorillas in America. That's all you're saying, and I kind of love it. Like,
I think your sister. I think that's code for doing mushrooms in the forest. Like, I think you got to ask a little deeper. She's like, oh yeah, we're gonna go hunt for Bigfoot this weekend.
No, my sister like doesn't even like drugs. She genuinely, I think because she was around my dad so much that you go around my dad, you're like, I feel like I'm tripping, and my dad does not do drugs.
Yeah. He's just
what did you
always
think
in that
Greys
state.
were?
Greys are that. Yeah, they're like aliens. So there's like a bunch of different types of aliens that people mention. What the maybe?
Yayels.
Okay, so clearly Noah is not the conspiracy person. Amanda is the conspiracy person.
I'm just a listener. I just listen.
I love this shit. I remember, in regards to Bigfoot, I do have family who, over the years, this is forever ago, but over the years been very fascinated in conspiracy theories. And one time I was camping up in the woods in the mountains in Colorado with a bunch of family, and it was late at night, and we're all around the campfire, and one of my relatives is talking about Bigfoot and all these Bigfoot stories that he's heard, which is the coolest place to talk about Bigfoot. It's also the worst place to talk about Bigfoot. But, and look, I am not an expert. I am also not saying this stuff is real. I am just telling you what he was telling me then. And he was talking about how he's like, yeah, there's this story of this woman, she got out of her tent, and there was a Bigfoot with like an adolescent, like a child Bigfoot nearby, and they both
they're
like
making babies
with a little Bigfoot,
with a little Bigfoot, and they both like backed away into the woods, like that they are very camouflaged, and something that he's like, and you know, people say like, well, if there's Bigfoot all over, how come we haven't found remains? And he's like, when do people come across bear remains? And I was like, oh, that's a good point.
Wait.
It's like, yeah, because stuff doesn't last that long in the woods.
That's how conspiracy theories.
Yeah, they
true.
like throw something to you that's like, I've never thought about that, but like, what do you mean?
But I think the problem is,
how often do I find a deer carcass?
First of all, that's true. Like, you don't come across, like, carcasses get eaten so fast that, yeah, evidence might be hard. My issue with conspiracy theories, and I'm going to say this now before we delve into them further, is that...
They're so fun.
Is that... And what's fun about it is the same reason why I also don't actively believe in them too intensely, is that you'll find yourself listing a bunch of things to prove yourself right. And you'll go, oh, but this clearly proves it. And what about this? But the scientific method, and like if you're truly trying to prove something right, you're going to try to prove yourself wrong. And you're going to try to look at the justifications of why, okay, but if this is true, then this should also be true. And we're not seeing that. And you can have so much fun in proving yourself right all the time and looking at all these, but isn't that weird? And isn't that weird?
Yeah.
But it's like, there's a lot of weird things. And ultimately, and this is like if I ever go and get my doctorate or a master's in psychology, this is the psychology book I want to write. Because I think this is what we're seeing with conspiracy theories. I think are now getting very dangerous nowadays.
Yeah.
They're very bad.
They're making people do things.
And they've gotten dumber, and they're getting dumber and dumber.
Yeah.
Because aliens is cool, because it's like, yeah, there's a whole universe out there. We don't know a lot of stuff.
Exactly.
But it's now getting to where people are like, you know, flat Earth has made its way.
Well, there are children in the basement in New York.
Exactly.
At a pinball.
It's getting really,
that's...
really dangerous, and there's a lot of bigotry tied in with it, a ton of it. But I would write this book. This would be my thesis, and it's called The Wisdom of Stupidity. And the point is that we are all stupid. We're all stupider than we realize because there's just too much shit in the world for us to be smart on everything. But because we have the internet, everyone thinks they're really smart about everything
Everyone thinks
now.
they know everything.
And that's so dangerous. And it's okay to acknowledge that we're human and that we're stupid. But where I see so many conspiracy theories come from is people going, this doesn't make sense to me. Therefore, there must be something weird about this. It doesn't make sense to you because you're stupid on that thing. And that's okay. I am too.
Yeah, we all
I
are
don't
stupid.
understand how the world is designed. I'm not a scientist.
Yeah.
So if I walked out and I go, it looks flat. It's clearly, to me, this must be, and it's no, that's because I don't understand it.
It doesn't
And
make
that's
sense.
okay. That's okay.
Yeah, because aliens know what's actually happening.
Right?
Yeah, they get it.
But
No,
they're
but I feel
actively molding the curves.
I feel like that's the magic. I just think people get so scared of not being in control
Yeah.
that they need to know. So they need to really web sleuth it. They need to come up with all these things to explain things. I get it. I do the same thing. But at a certain point, you have to sit back and go, this is just magic. This is just aliens. No, I'm just kidding.
Aliens are just magic.
Yeah.
Yeah. And look, I'm very open-minded, and I still, to this day, and the problem is I actively want aliens to be real.
Yeah.
And I have to also acknowledge that and recognize that I'm biased. And that if I see a video of something weird, I'm going to be my brain is going to be man, that might be aliens. That they're out there.
Yeah.
And I want to believe it, but I'm also there's an infinite amount of shit I don't understand and know. So there's also probably weird stuff out there and happening around us that we haven't even comprehended. There's probably stuff that's weirder than aliens. But we just
definitely.
we haven't even popped the question.
Dude,
you know what I mean?
Real life is always weirder than aliens. That's the one thing that I love to do whenever I talk about conspiracy theories with anyone, because I'm always interested in it, because it's super fun. Literally, it's fun to talk about aliens, even if I think what you're saying is ridiculous. It's so much more interesting. People are like, oh, how do we build the pyramids if it's not aliens? It is so much more interesting to say, what if a whole bunch of people straight up figured out how to move hundreds of thousands of tons of limestone, and underneath the limestone is marble or whatever material? That is so much more complex and difficult to do than an alien coming and just beaming something. You are missing the awe-inspiring intelligence and majesty that is
Humans.
Yeah.
Right.
Human beings.
You're missing where you come from, because they are as smart, if not smarter than you, because look what they did, and all you could think was, oh, they had to have an alien.
It's impossible. It's impossible that they did that.
Yeah.
It's humans have done crazy shit. It's possible.
It's totally possible, but I think people get really upset when they can't control how something is done, so they have to make up, ways to kind of control it. I'm literally the same. I'm why did that happen to me? And you come up with all these things, and you're oh, maybe because I did this, but in general, some things just don't make sense.
Yeah.
And I think the accepting part is really hard.
It's getting bad though. And it's getting bad in obviously the dangerous ways, as I said, where people are justifying reasons to hate people or going, oh, these people are actually evil. It's you're basing it off of nothing other than probably just
Terrible.
that inside you already didn't like them.
Yeah.
So you're finding justifications and you're finding all the reasons that yes, and you're finding like-minded people.
Yeah,
and
witch
that's
hunts.
it.
I hate witch hunts.
But
Yeah.
I'm also seeing really dumb ones scientifically. And, flat Earth has been around a long time. But I'm seeing ones that I'm that are making flat Earth look real good.
Oh.
I saw a lady.
Oh, yes.
This went kind of viral. And granted, Twitter is a place where all of the most insane people congregate. But there was a woman who took a photo of the sun. And she was saying, I'm telling you, the sun looks different now than it did 30 years ago. And I'm what are you talking about?
Maybe it does.
And in that same thread, she was also talking about how I forget what it's called. It's
The
sun
ozone.
gazing. Sun gazing. That sun gazing is good good for you. Looking directly at the sun.
Oh, of course.
And I'm you've really gotten here where you're trying to convince people, and you've convinced yourself that staring directly at the sun is good for you. Where did you come up with that? Like, what is that? You know that that's not good. You can test that theory by looking at the sun, and it hurts immediately.
Crazy, now she has a platform, and rather than just telling her family at like a party, now she has a platform that people can listen to, and people like my mom believes that, but I still haven't yet seen it. She fully believes it, that when the sun goes down over the ocean, that right when it goes down, you see a green flash. Have you guys heard this? My mom fully believes that you see a green flash when the sun sets.
I mean, I suppose that could be a real thing of just light.
I have searched every sunset. I'm like, green flash, green flash. And I'm like...
Someone over here is nodding. Brendan's nodding.
Is it a real thing?
It's a phenomenon that happens in, like, the Pacific.
Okay, so it's a real thing.
So why is she having me look at the Atlantic Ocean on it?
Brendan's saying it happens in the Pacific.
Okay.
Yeah. That doesn't sound that crazy,
Look for the green flash.
That's not that crazy.
I know, but
that's like the Northern Lights.
When you grow up with my mother and father, you'll be like, what?
Is anything real? Yeah.
They've also gotten insane, and I see it happen like with the Avril Lavigne conspiracy theory. Have you heard
she's dead and
that she's dead and someone's replaced her. And I've been thinking about that one a lot because I'm like, the world, some secret organization decided it's like, and look, I love Avril Lavigne, big Avril Lavigne fan.
Skater boy.
But celebrities, like all humans, sometimes pass away. But the concept that if in this conspiracy theory, Avril Lavigne passed away, and some organization or something was like, no, the world needs to believe that Avril Lavigne is still around, even though she's not making as much music anymore.
She still irons her hair straight.
Yeah, it's like, wait, why specifically her?
She's a spy now.
But once you start throwing it out there, people just start pointing all these connections and stuff. It's like, yeah, you can prove anything.
It's
to
telephone.
Be true. It is a game of telephone, and I witness it with us here at Smosh as well. And people just oftentimes it comes from a misunderstanding. Sometimes people just straight up lie. And people just love to lie on the internet. It's crazy. There was one comment I saw, and I've seen many iterations of this, but someone was like, yeah, no, I'm pretty sure that Damien and Shayne confirmed that they've been in a relationship before together. And I was like, you're just saying that.
Yeah, they're just saying that. You're just saying that
phrasing. But now
phrasing,
anyone who sees that comment goes, oh, they confirmed it. Okay, so Shayne and Damien dated at one point.
Yeah.
And I'm like, you just created a thing.
Yeah. And people don't believe it. And then what happens is people watch the videos. Like they thought me and Angela were fighting forever. People watch the videos and go, oh my God, look at her face. It's like when you go on Instagram and they zoom in on like a conference of like celebrities, and the celebrity's like doing this, and you're like, oh my God, she was so mad at her.
Like, you know what?
Like they're probably in between looks.
Harry Styles spit.
I hate when other people do that. I do, but I'm going to say it. I am so guilty of that. We are all actors, and I think whenever we see things, I think that, at least I'll speak for myself, even when I watch television or anything, I'm always watching from a place of motivation. So when someone does something, I interpret it like what motivated them to do it. I don't necessarily see the action they did first, if that makes sense. So when I see certain things, I look at the motivation as to why something was done. And then I start thinking, okay, it could have been A, it could have been B, or like it could have been C. Like, what if it's like, whoa, I think it might be, whoa, guys, I think like they're doing this because there might be some trouble. Like, I think I think there's a relationship issue occurring, and then there is.
That's why you're a true conspiracy theorist.
Yes, because I love that sort of like investigation.
Yeah,
web.
I think that's what it is. I think to be a conspiracy theorist, you have to like love like, okay, but why? Which is like, I think all of us here, like your book sounds like it's like you come from like answer. Who does it, but like it's also like why do they do it, right?
Right. And I think it also comes from a place, as you said, it's a place of control. It's a place of reassuredness of like, and for me, when I was big into conspiracies, I recognized eventually that I'm like, I don't feel great about myself or my trajectory. I'm nervous about failing and not doing much with my life. And so if aliens are real, or if ghosts are real, or if some sort of supernatural stuff is real, then my life can't be a failure because I'm part of something so big and magical and cool. If none of it is real, then oh man, I this is just nothing and I'm lame.
Yeah.
But
In
that's
fact, you're
also
stupider.
you're really dumb.
Wait,
But
I'm
that's
having
also,
major deja vu right
but
now.
that's-
You've said this before to me?
maybe.
That's
Probably.
when you've died in a past life because you pooped too hard.
No, yeah.
No, it's not.
You're gonna wake up and we're gonna be reliving this.
not.
But I also recognize that as you kind of said, like real life is already so insane that I'm like, oh, this is me just not loving myself and not loving my life and not loving the world that I'm in, even if none of these things are true. Now, I fully acknowledge that I'm like, there are probably so many insane things that are real that I am unaware of or that I cannot comprehend. I do believe that. But I still go about any single thing that I get shown or I see on the internet with skepticism because I'm like, I want it to be real, so I'm going to be skeptical in order to tear everything away and see that it's real.
But isn't it like, belief and hope? Isn't it like what you believe in, you make it real kind of vibes? Like, I feel like that's why some conspiracy theories or like some fun things are fun. Like, it makes me feel good to know that there's a Bigfoot family with little Bigfoot walking around.
I think as long as
living.
as long as
it's not hurting.
It depends on the
specific
conspiracy.
people.
That's why I'm like,
Yeah.
I try to think universally of this mindset that is healthy across the board because, when people really, really believe some of these conspiracy theories and then they act upon it, it can be so bad. And that's why I'm like, hey, have a little element of doubt. Don't go about acting out anything.
Definitely.
There's nothing wrong with being like,
Yeah, of course, religion and all of that.
When you're talking about Bigfoot is the funniest one to me because I'm like, it's harmless. Like, oh, go out to the woods and look for Bigfoot. Like, that's funny. But almost any others, especially nowadays, it always boils down to like wanting to hurt someone
Step
else.
on a crack, break your mother's back. Did you guys grow up with that one?
Dude,
Yeah.
What the hell?
And I still will avoid
I
it.
still will avoid cracks too. What?
You know the one I do believe? This is one that's weird that I do believe. That mattress stores are all a front.
You've mentioned this before.
100%. There are so many. And I guess there was I was reading, there was a Reddit post from a few years ago where someone pointed out that there was an insane amount of mattress stores. This is like somewhere in like Philadelphia. It's somewhere on the East Coast where there's just an absurd amount of mattress stores all in one location where it's like, wait, how are there so many
Underground tunnels.
right here?
Dude.
But a lot of people are like,
knows?
it's a drug front or
What
it's
do
a
you
front
think?
for
No,
something.
no. See, it's the mattress stores because they come
Yes,
in by
Noah,
plane
sir.
and they
Oh.
drop the drugs, and so you need it to safely or else the cocaine will land and it'll poof.
It bounces
gotta be
on
on the
the
mattress.
mattresses.
Mhm.
But I have never been inside a mattress store.
You haven't?
No.
They're a blast.
But there's
They are
so
actually really fun.
They're so
many.
fun.
There's so many. How are people? What?
I like
How
that
are they?
conspiracy.
How are they staying
I like it.
afloat?
I like it too, but also people need beds.
Yeah, but you don't buy beds every year.
These are the real conspiracies where it's like that could be some real thing because what really happens in the world, and this is something I had to explain crypto to someone who like was really into crypto, and they were like, yeah, I know it's down now, but like
How
eventually
long was
it'll go
that
up.
conversation?
I don't mind talking to people because I'm not the smartest person in the room, but I like to just talk with people because it's like we'll come up with the answer. It's just usually when we come up with the answer, it's just usually like your initial dumb idea was dumb. You know, like I'm not trying to be mean, but like Dogecoin's at like 0.0004 cents or whatever. Like I promise it's not about to be $1.30. Like, well, I mean, it goes up with time, right? Like, no, that's not how money works. Like usually you need people to use money in order for it to be seen as like value.
Right.
It doesn't really matter.
Now I know exactly how that conversation went. Thank you for that
But
preview.
essentially with like crypto or possibly mattress stores or even like luxury real estate in London or New York or Los Angeles, a lot of it's not like conspiracy, but it's tax evasion and moving money offshore because a lot of people that are rich in other countries, their money is not as valuable as the US dollar. The US dollar is strong for a specific reason because it's accepted everywhere. It's never going to go up or down. Our government doesn't say, hey, tomorrow it's going to be worth 50 cents, or tomorrow it's going to be worth $1.50. We don't say you can't have your money today because we don't like your politics. It's only if you like break some extreme laws. So essentially people who live in places that don't have laws like that, Russia, China, anywhere else that's similar, that might be a lot more restrictive. Someone who's a business person who makes millions of dollars because they own a factory, but the only reason they own a factory is because they're in with the local politics and the local whatever government and they could take it away at any time.
You don't take a breath.
They say, great, I have $10 million, but I have $10 million in the local currency that can inflate, deflate, whatever. It makes much more sense for me to take this $10 million, turn it into $8 million of USD, and then go and buy a super fancy property that will always be worth money. And then in 10 years when I want to leave the country and raise children, or in 10 years when I'm a political prisoner running away, I can sell this property, or that's where the money is. Essentially, it's a safer, thing than your local banking system. It's the same thing with crypto, which is like, great, you want to put into crypto. Well, there's someone who has money that's illegal money that they are exchanging into legal money. Just in the meantime, you're using the fake money in the middle. So you take your real dollars, you turn it into Doge, and someone who's got bad dollars
I didn't know
turn
I
it
was
into
gonna
Doge.
be signed up for this.
Yeah,
crypto
but this
combo.
is like the real like when people are like conspiracies, like this is the real stuff that like actually is making people lose. And another conspiracy that I just learned, I don't actually have the facts behind it, but apparently Colorado is the leading place for the cartels to launder cash.
That's your family.
Yeah, and
My family.
Yeah, the reason is because the United States doesn't allow the federal banking of money made through the sale of marijuana. So all states that sell marijuana legally, it's done in cash, or there's like a local state law that allows them to bank it or bank a certain amount, whatever it is. So in Colorado, they don't have the same state laws as California, which the same thing can happen in California. It's just easiest in Colorado. So what they do is they take their cash and they open up a store, and the either the state of Colorado allows the state to take the cash and act like the United States Bank. So instead of the federal government,
This is Noah's girlfriend when he does this.
Yeah, really. This is how you know that
Did
I'm
you go
like,
to bed?
like Google it, because
Babe,
you know I'm like
we
half
gotta
talking
order.
on my ass.
We need to.
Babe,
I
we
know.
have to order.
Yeah, what do you
So
want?
you will pay for the weed in cash, and then the state will go to the business and say, I know that you can't have this much cash on hand, so we will take it, and here's a voucher for money. You know, here, we'll legally bank it in the state of Colorado, but that money isn't legally banked by the U.S. government. So they're able to take money that would have been traced by the federal government.
Oh God,
They're able to take.
Oh God.
So is
Oh, God.
Bigfoot
He's
part
running out of
this?
oil.
Bigfoot is part. I'm running out of oil. The scam is the same way that you would wash money in any other business, but it's very easy to do in Colorado through legal weed because it's all cash. And
Or it's just aliens coming down.
You know what I do?
Yeah.
This does remind me, though, is I think also the unfortunate truth is that a lot of conspiracies.
we're all stupid and I'm stupid.
Well, no. I mean, yes. But a lot of conspiracies, there are a lot of real conspiracies out there. And of course, the government is screwing us in so many ways. It's always dumber and lamer than you want it to be.
Totally.
It's like when people talk about like the Illuminati, it's like there's no Illuminati. They're just in front of you doing it.
Taking your money.
And they're saying it. Like they're just
Did I tell
deliberately
you guys
saying-
when I hung out with the Freemasons in Vermont?
Can you talk about this on the podcast?
Yeah, I can talk about
Okay.
this because they wanted me to join. They tell you how to join. Like
You almost became a Freemason?
I was in Vermont because I won a trip on The Price is Right, and the last time that I was in this
And it
little
was
town,
Vermont, the trip?
Yeah,
I love Vermont.
Vermont's
Vermont's
it's my
gorgeous.
favorite
Wasn't it?
state. Oh my god, the best apples in the world. I ate
gorgeous.
a Vermont
Where'd you-
apple off a
where'd-
tree.
where'd you
I was
go?
in I want to say it was Waitsfield. Somewhere
Okay.
in Waitsfield. It's a specific place called the Inn at the Round Barn Farm. Super nice. It's like a wedding venue spot. But that's where we got to stay.
But
it's in this little town.
So how did you meet the Freemasons?
So in a lot of towns, and I'm sure this is all over the East Coast, but there's signs when you go, and it says like free accepted Masons when you walk into the towns or
Yeah.
like drive into them. And so you're like, oh, okay, who cares? But right when you would turn to go up to where we were staying, there was the Freemason Lodge in the town, and it was some rundown like piece of shit building. Like it didn't look like anyone was there, but there was a sign that was like, oh, come hang out on our free enrollment, whatever. So the last day we were staying in that town before we went to a different town, I decided to knock on the door. I was like, you know what? F- it. Let me knock on the door. Why not? I've never met the Freemasons.
You
Let's go in.
decided to just go to the Freemason Lodge.
Yes, because
This is
it was.
Noah. Yes, I am.
And knock and be
Yes.
like, hey, are you the Illuminati?
And I was like, Tiffany, do you want to come with me? And she was like, no, I don't think they let girls in. And I was like, oh, I think you're right. So I Googled something.
They don't. From what I understand,
Yeah.
they don't.
They
Again,
don't.
his girlfriend's just like,
Really.
Fine,
Babe, we
I
have to
don't
order.
even want to go.
On the way to the place, it was like a 9-minute drive. So I Googled a video explaining the Freemasons because I don't really know much. And in those 9 minutes, I gathered Temple of Solomon, special chamber that's a square. There's 2 pillars. One represents the earth and one represents the sky. And it's all based, in early Judaism to some degree. That's all I
didn't know that
all I
aspect.
gathered to some degree.
From what I read back in the day when I did look into like Freemason stuff, one of the only rules I knew is you had to be a man, but you also have to believe in a higher power. It doesn't matter what religion.
Yeah.
But you just have to believe in a god.
Yeah, because they all believe that they're speaking to the same god, if that makes sense. Because they're all monotheistic. Like,
why don't they want women there?
There's a different group
school.
called the Star.
Of course, they're
There's
like
something like that.
Sparkles.
Yeah, really.
Sparkle Squad.
Pink Squad.
Yeah.
Get it, girl.
So I knocked on the door and I entered, and there was just this old guy sweeping, but there was like tables being set up. And so I was just like, hey, and he like didn't turn around. And I was like, hey, I wanted to like just learn about the Freemasons and talk to you. He was like, oh, if you come back in like 15 minutes, the Grand Master's gonna be here and you can talk to him.
He's like, help me. Help.
Yeah. Well, as I was leaving, an old woman came around the corner and she was like, oh, hello, do you remember me? And I looked at her.
Do you remember me?
Yes, and I did. 5 days earlier, the first day I was in Vermont, I went to a local coffee shop, and there was a group of old women, and I had colored hair, and they stopped me, and they were like, hey, we want to look at your hair. We're talking about it. Can we talk to you? And so they saw my hair. You know, I talked to them, told them I was from California, whatever.
I think you were in the Truman Show for a second.
So I'm telling you, so this old lady, you know, whomever was there, and she was like, oh, hi, you know, nice to meet you, whatever. Yeah, so I come back in 15 minutes, and there's this older guy, Hank. You know, he's much younger than the other two, but by much younger,
Perfect
he's like
name.
62. Yes,
Hank.
Perfect name. Hank's got a limp, like one of his legs.
Of course he does.
Like a club
Blown
or something.
off or something?
Yeah, who knows?
Sure.
It's, you know, whatever. And so we come in and I say hi. And, you know, he said, hi, I'm Hank. You know, you wanted to meet us? And I said, yes. I opened strong and said, hi, my name is Noah. I'm from Los Angeles. I'm in the entertainment industry and I'm Jewish. A lot of people think that I'm in the Freemasons or a part of the Illuminati. I'm not a part of you guys, but I'd love to learn about this organization. And so he laughed and he said, well, you know who we are, right? And I said, yeah, I know, you know, the Temple of Solomon, the two pillars, you know, the sky. And he's like, and the earth. Good. So, you know, and he starts listing off all these things. And I'm just like, yeah, uh-huh. And he's like, great, let me give you a tour. We are in the oldest fucking building ever. I swear to God. He told me it's from 1822. It's the first general store building in the town. This thing has been through 13, 14 floods. Like, nothing fits. Everything looks like shit. I mean, like, there must be mold everywhere. This place is disgusting.
The hitchhiking ghosts from Haunted Mansion are there.
Really?
Like, hey!
Yes. And I'm telling you, these people control the world, right? Like, the tables are setting up, which I'm happy that the old people have, like, a place to be, but, like, it's, like, paper plates. Like, there's not even tablecloths on these wooden tables that are, like, the foldable ones. Like, it looks like they're at public school that I went to, like, in LAUSD. Like, it's like, this is sad. You don't control the world. But, you know, on the wall is all the people. There's someone all the way back from, like, 1788. He was, like, the first one of their, like, lodge members. Hank starts talking to me. He's like, you know, the guy who was sweeping, he was just joking. He's actually the son of the last Grand Mason of the town. And I was like, oh, he's like, yeah, he just didn't want to talk to you about stuff. But he was taking me on tour. He's like, let me show you the basement. So I followed him into the basement. The original generals.
Noah, don't follow strangers into the
guys,
basement.
This is how the Freemasons live. The original 1822 basement. The layer of dust on these original stone walls. I mean, it was gross. There's no running water. All the pipes are broken. I mean, it looks like rats give birth places. There's random artifacts and knickknacks that, like, you know, with the right lighting, you'd be like, oh my God, it's the Declaration of Independence here.
Cut to your girlfriend at the end, like,
yeah, she's literally like, yeah.
She's eating, drinking.
And I'm like trapped in this fucking stone basement. But really, with the lights on, it looks like the
yourself
worst
killed.
place. So we go back up to the main floor, and he's like, hey, do you want to go up to the ceremonial chamber? And I'm like, oh, of course, show
To be
me.
Sacrificed.
Yeah.
Who knows? So we go up the stairs, these thin-ass stairs, and there's one of those chairs that, you know, for old people that's like automatic, like goes really slow, right? The Freemasons in
That's
this
the
town,
only
they need
technology
to...
they have in there.
Yeah. And so as we're going up, and remember, Hank, like, has a bad leg, and he's, like, really old. I was like, oh, wow, you guys got that installed? And he goes, yeah, we just got it last week. He goes, I had to install it. I was like, oh, that seems hard. And he's like, yeah, you know what's going to be harder? And I said, what? He goes, taking it back out. Fire department says the stairway's too thin. So Hank's got to undo himself, yeah.
They're not the Illuminati. They're not controlling anything. Everyone's controlling them. They're like, we don't get a say.
Like, guys, these people control the fucking world. And so we go up to the special chamber room, and before the special chamber room, there's a waiting room. And this is what he says to me verbatim. He says, this is where you wait before you come into your first ceremony to become a Freemason. It's usually cold in Vermont, so we plan a big meal beforehand because there's a lot of waiting outside in this room. We like to do beans. So this Freemason, you eat beans before you become a Freemason, I guess.
What?
Beans is their food of choice. We walk in the chamber. I promise you, it's like here in the Titanic. It's like fluffy carpet. There's like a couple layers, different chairs, different like symbols and knickknacks. He starts talking about them. You see things that you see in art all the time that you're like, oh, this is what that means. This is what that means. He starts explaining things to me. You know, this is this and this is that. It's all based on the ancient, I don't know. I'm going to say Eritrean. That's not the word. That's an active type of people now, but it's like these weird ancient words. Yes, but he told me this. He said, because I saw on half the room was different artifacts that look similar. And I was like, oh, what are those? And he said, that belongs to a different group that we rent out our space to because we don't have enough members.
It's the Sparkle Gang, and they do Zumba up here.
There are two rival Illuminati-esque cults that rent out the same space because they're too poor to have their own clubhouses.
I can't.
That's the fucking Freemasons.
And with that,
It's so funny. People think the Freemasons are like
apparently it's different group to group. Like there might be a strange one, but it's in no way a connected organization.
But that Freemason group is just chilling, eating beans.
The American Legion is scarier. I promise you.
Noah, it has been a journey with you.
Sorry.
I know. Wow. I'm not sorry. I felt like I was there with you holding your hand. Like that was amazing.
I can't believe we decided on the topic of conspiracy theories, and I had no idea that you had visited and
I don't think I've ever told that story.
Nearly became a free. It doesn't sound like at any point you were planning on joining.
Oh no! But if you want to join, you literally Google your city and Freemasons, and then there's an email, and then you email them any chapter. He said wherever you live, there's an email.
So they just hang out and eat beans.
Yeah, in Vermont. in Vermont
because it gets cold, man. You need beans.
It's so weird.
Some beans.
So weird.
Noah, thank you for
thank you for being here.
Thanks for having me, guys.
Anytime. Guys, this is SmoshCast. Our next episode comes out on Monday.
Yeah, next episode is going to be really good. We are making Angela write the worst sketch possible, and we're all going to write terrible sketches.
So excited.
Them.
This was Smosh Mouth.
Yeah,
oh, God.
That's what it is. Smosh Mouth. Deal with it.
You brought back the callback?
Bye.
Yep. Bye.